Hey, it's Brett Gregory, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. We've got an amazing webinar for you. And what I want you to do right now, if you can see my screen and hear my voice, just go to the questions box and tell us what city and country you're tuning in from. If you can see my screen and hear my voice, go to the questions box right now and tell us what city and country you're tuning in from. Because here on the live weekly six-figure Facebook marketing class, we want to help answer all of your questions. Make sure you're really ready to take your business up to the next level and really help you do exactly that. And today, we've got a really special guest for you here. So I'm here with my good friend and somebody who I'm just super thrilled to share with you today, Aaron Fletcher. And I sent out an email to everybody, and I took my 4-year-old daughter to a pool party several months back, and it was one of her good friends. And she, we had a great party, and I ran into this guy at the party, and we were having a great conversation about online marketing, and he was telling me all these cool things that he was doing. And then we kind of, went back to our own busy business lives, and I kept seeing all these amazing, really, really powerful ads on Facebook. And I always like to click on the best ads. So I was clicking on the ads, and then that led to an amazing opt-in and landing page. And of course, again, if they're really good, I choose to opt in, and I want to see who's doing what and who's got the best marketing out there. And I went and contacted this guy who turns out his name was Aaron Fletcher. And I had totally forgot that we had met in person, and it was great because I reached out to him. I said, "Hey, your stuff is so great. I want to introduce you to my community." And he said, "Sure thing." And then it took me a while, but I put two and two together. I was like, "Oh my gosh, we actually met already. Our daughters were at the same birthday party." And so with that, it's my, I'm really excited about the being able to introduce you here. So Aaron Fletcher, and by the way, if you're just joining us, please go to the chat box and tell us what city and country you're tuning in from. So you got Timothy from Cleveland, Ohio. It looks like Enoch is having a trouble with his webinar. So for anybody out there, if this sometimes happens with Google Hangouts, if you're seeing any kind of slow or error, just refresh. Usually down at the bottom there's a refresh there. So it looks like we got a bunch of people on. So Sienna is from Denver. We've got Claudia from Indianapolis. Michelle's from Eureka. Lori's from Tampa. Tim is from Canada. We got Annabelle from Greensboro. Wow, you guys are coming on really fast. Mari's from West VA. Denise is from California. Elaine's from France. Sylvia's from Netherlands. Bianca is from Germany. So it's great to have all of you here with us today. So I want to just introduce you to my new friend. Oh, and we got somebody from Hungary. Orsi, welcome. Wow, I think you're the first one from Hungary. And we got Zarha from Slovenia. You guys are awesome. So I love our global audience. This is always a ton of fun. So I want to just introduce you to my good friend, Aaron Fletcher. So just a little bit about him. He's got a background in the Navy, and he was actually a VP of online Nolo.com and Caring.com, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about that. But they had over 1 million visitors per month on their website and doing $18 million in sales. And since he's broken off onto his own consulting business, he's created a 7-figure consulting business. He's a best-selling author of the book Stand Out, and now a founder of the Fletcher Method, which is a business coaching firm. And in just a very short period of time, they've developed a lot of clients. And he's got some amazing insights that he's going to share with you today. So without further ado, I want to introduce Aaron. Aaron, thanks so much for being here with us today.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine, Brett. Thank you so much. We're going to cover some, hopefully.
Just so you know, we can't see your face right now. You're on your other screen.
Okay, let me go to the.
Stop sharing your screen for a second, and then you can introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Let me unshare the screen here, unless you want to see a still picture of me.
No, go right ahead.
Which sometimes is better. No.
There you go.
So,
great.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. So just do me a favor. I gave people just a little bit of background of who you are. Just go ahead and introduce yourself.
Absolutely. So as you said, our firm's called the Fletcher Method. It's a business coaching firm where we help people understand the complexities of online marketing. And I came from a .com background in Silicon Valley. I was a VP of online for those brands that you mentioned. And what I'm going to talk about today has to do with that, because what we use both in the Navy and the software development and kind of Silicon Valley environment is something called frameworks. And it sounds like a really nerdy term to use in a Facebook or a marketing context, but it made all the difference in the world for me. And I think, you've seen some of the frameworks that we use, and I just want to kind of run everybody here through the seven most simple steps they can implement in their business to finally kind of generate an automated marketing funnel.
Great. Well, go ahead and take it away. You can go ahead and share your screen now, and I'll just jump in with questions when they appear. And also for you, while you're watching, please put your questions in the questions box and tell us first off, what is your number one challenge that you're having? Your number one challenge with your own marketing funnels. So what is the number one challenge you're having? Is it getting email addresses? Is it getting traffic? Is it converting likes into email addresses and email addresses into customers? Whatever it is, tell us what your number one challenge is in the chat, and then Aaron is going to teach you the 7 key ingredients of every successful marketing funnel. So take it away.
Yep. Yeah. And if you just want to rattle off a couple of those to me as I'm talking here, Brad, I just want to hear. I want to make sure that the value we give people is directly related to what those challenges are.
So Bob says his biggest challenge is getting traffic. Dan is getting people to respond from posts. Ian's getting traffic. Michelle's getting traffic. Pam is getting email addresses, building my list. And Karen is finding customers to come to a seminar. So there's quite a few more questions, but those are kind of the main ones.
Yeah. And I'll stop a couple other points, natural points to capture kind of frustrations related to what we're covering. But let me just dig in here. The first thing I want to say is this is different. And it's kind of a funny image, but when I say different, I mean, I'm going to talk about a few things initially that you might not hear a lot. And a lot of people do want to learn about the latest traffic technique. And we found that you need to have a strong foundation in place. So we're going to use a couple new terms that I think by the end of this are really going to make a lot of sense.
And one thing I just want to point out for you watching there, just if you haven't noticed Aaron's slides already, that was one of the things that just jumped off the page with me is how professional his slides look and how professional, everything is, the brand is just all the same all the way through. And it doesn't look like a normal PowerPoint. Okay. It looks like just a very high level professional presentation. And that's really one of the things that drew me to you. So pay close attention to those kinds of things because you're really going to learn a lot.
Yeah, I'm actually going to touch on that. Thank you, Brett. It's a good point. The first thing I want to bring up before we dig right into funnel mechanics is the importance of a minimalist mindset. Now, I told you we would talk about a couple topics that you might not have expected here, but it's so important for 100% of you on here who listed your frustrations like getting traffic or kind of understanding how to drive people to events. Is it starts with your mindset, because most entrepreneurs have an absolute information overload, right? You're looking at the latest blog and podcast and course and ebook and software, and you're just drinking from a fire hose, which causes a lot of tech overwhelm, which is the second big thing we see is most people are stuck on the technology barrier of, do I use ClickFunnels or Leadpages or this or that? And much less marketing automation software. So they can't implement their message out there because they're stuck on the tech, which makes a lot of people feel like they're totally drifting. And if folks want to type in the chat box, if any of this sounds familiar, whether you have tech overwhelm or information overload, and you're frustrated with just that tech piece, I just want to know where people are in kind of the tech scale, so to speak.
So go ahead and tell us, what is your number one technology frustration when it comes to your funnel? So, we're getting a lot of questions. Natalie is totally lost when it comes to tech. Michelle has tech overwhelm. Shane is starting and procrastinating. Shelly is overloaded. Carol is how to advertise to bring in more clients. Nafaya doesn't have advertising funds. People aren't finding his app. And people are saying, there's just too much to learn out there.
Yep. So that lets people often feel like they're drifting instead of kind of driving, and they're in reactive mode, right? So what we find, this is a really important analogy, and I think you'll like it, Brad. I know you have a background in kind of health and surfing and kind of a holistic approach, your business, your life, your relationships, and everything else, is the first thing you have to do if you're going to climb up this mountain and try to launch a successful online business is empty your pack. And what we mean by that is most people are trying to grab new tools and software and plugins and courses, when sometimes what you need to do is have less. And I found in my business, the more I stopped doing, the faster I got results. I owned an agency about 1.5 years ago, and it was a 7-figure consulting agency, but we had people doing, a content marketing manager and AdWords and Pinterest and all these different things. And the more I cut back on things that weren't working, I was left with a simple Facebook funnel that really worked well. And I did these 7 things I'm going to talk about. If you do 7 things properly, it's going to be way more effective than 700 things kind of bouncing all over the place, right?
Yeah, I really think, and Cam wrote, kind of really consolidated what we were just saying. Cam says, I need a decisive plan that I can map out steps to be accountable and be able to hand off the task to others while maintaining a marketing plan that works. There's just too many avenues and no way to know which ones to go with. And I really like the, what I love about what you do so much, Aaron, is that you put everything in a process. And I'm very big on creating processes that I can hand off to my virtual assistant. And the only way to do that is to simplify things the way that you do. So Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate that. It's the same thing that we found. And it sounds like a lot of people are looking for that. How do I kind of define it, document it, and hand it off, right? So in terms of mindset, the first step is to get calm. This is one of my favorite images. I look at this sometimes when I'm feeling overwhelmed, because you need to go, if you're not calm, you're going to be all over the place. You need to go on what we call an information diet, which means just give yourself a 90-day license to stop consuming information that doesn't have to do with what you're trying to build right now. So if you and your business are trying to launch a lead magnet or a Facebook ad campaign, stop downloading things about how to hire VAs and how to organize yourself and put them in your Dropbox folder. Like, learning on demand says, learn the one skill you need right now and go on an information diet and reduce everything else. The next step is to get clear. You have to know where you are. If you're in another country, I know you've done a lot of travel. A lot of people on here are located in different parts of the world. If you don't know 2 things, being where you are now and where you're trying to get to, what your destination is, you're just going to be driving around aimlessly in circles. Yet in business, that's the way most of us approach it. We wake up, we say, what am I going to do right now this hour? And we're not, we have no horizon. We have no direction we're headed to. We use a tool called the 7-figure revenue roadmap, which is a tongue twister. And all it says is there's 4 levels of business. There's 4 levels that people go to get from struggling in their business to surviving and then hopefully thriving, which means you have a predictable flow of leads. You kind of know what's going to happen tomorrow. You have significant income. And most people on here, if you want to type in the chat box and just say, where are you in terms of lead flow in your business? Are you kind of struggling where you have a drought? Or are you just surviving where you have a trickle, meaning, yeah, there's some leads coming into your business and some kind of conversions happening, but it's not predictable? Or are you thriving where you know with certainty that when you wake up tomorrow, you can spend $10 on Facebook or Google AdWords and get $100 back?
And this is great. Yeah. So tell us where you are. And so a lot of people are responding very quickly. Some people are at no leads. Some people are struggling. Some people are in drought. I know when I was starting, I struggled for the first couple years in terms of getting leads, and they were, very, very few and far between. In fact, so I came from the world, I came from an offline world. I was in the financial advisory business where we didn't do any online marketing. So I always did my own prospecting in person and, asking for referrals. So I had never heard of this whole, figured out how to do the whole online thing. But after a couple of years, then I started to slowly move up the ladder to surviving and then thriving and now driving. But what I love about what you're doing here is you're going to help people move up this pyramid a lot faster.
Yeah, well, what I find is that, and we're going to talk about the 7 things I'm about to kind of reveal, is most people are struggling or surviving, and there's only a few things you have to do correctly. And the message here is, you'll see, I'm not going to go through the whole kind of pyramid here because I want to get into the content, but there's a symptom for where you are, and there's one key takeaway. So again, if you don't have a product and you're struggling, you need to prove by going out and selling your first few customers. And then once you've done that and you're surviving, you have to promote and just put together a simple funnel. And again, you don't need to worry about things like hiring best practices and process improvement. If you don't have a basic lead system, you don't really have a predictable business. So the last and most important thing you have to do after you go ahead and get calm, which is go on an information diet, get clear on where you are, is you have to get or become confident. I know it's not really good grammar, but they all start with get. So you have to get confident, which means you have to know that you're following a system that works. And this is a big takeaway. What I'm about to cover for the next kind of 2 minutes was the biggest game changer for me in my business. And it starts with confidence. And here's an analogy. If I was to ask you, all of you on the chat here, if I asked you to fly a 747 in a hailstorm or perform open heart surgery, if you're not a pilot or a doctor, how confident would you be in that? You'd probably say very, very not at all, right?
I even got my pilot's license and I would not do it.
yeah. The aircraft of that size. And the truth is, if I say, how confident are you in the future of your business? A lot of people have the same answer. They say, not very confident. I'm hoping things happen. I have a lot of passion, but I don't have confidence and certainty. And I'm going to tell you what that breakthrough is that created that for me, which is one word. It's called frameworks, leveraging frameworks. Now, this is the first nerd flag that's going up for a lot of people. Like frameworks.
I'm a huge nerd, so I love nerd flags.
Yeah. So my nerd flag is flying right now, and people are going, frameworks? That doesn't sound like marketing. That's my nerd voice, but it's true. Now, let me tell you why it could be the most important thing for you in your marketing. A framework is simply a structure or a process or a set of ideas to support a piece of content or a process, right? So if I was to do this, if I was to drop you off in a junkyard and say, hey, go put together a car that works, just go find an engine, some tires, and all the pieces required, what are the chances you could assemble a working automobile? For most people, they couldn't. And it's because they don't have a framework. Their marketing looks like this. It's all over the place, trying to take different courses and podcasts and blog posts and tape it together into a system that works. And if you think about it, everybody else around us has a framework to get to accomplish their goal. Doctors, lawyers, scuba instructors, Navy SEALs, right? They know they could enter an educational process and come out with a law degree or come out with a certification and accomplish their goal. But we entrepreneurs don't have that. We're actually dropped into a sea and just told to figure it out. There's not a clear process for that. So does the idea of frameworks resonate with people? Do you understand that is one of the reasons we struggle so much is when we go to launch a funnel or a Facebook campaign or accomplish a goal in our business, we're not following a framework or a proven kind of checklist or a procedure.
Absolutely. I mean, when it's really, there is no instruction manual out there. And while there's so many people trying to teach business, there's just too much information out there. And that's where the overload comes in. But if you have that structure and that framework, it changes everything, which I love.
Yep. And to me, that's just it. I realized, long story short, I quit my day job several years ago, had to go back and get another job because I thought I was just supposed to blog all day until people showed up. And I
did the same thing.
I was like, I'm going to rank for SEO services. It's going to be easy. And I just tried that and then had to go back. And then when things got easy, it's when I said, wait a minute. If you look at what all the most successful people are doing, they don't have big, complicated systems and funnels. They do a few things really well, and they use frameworks, which is a process. Now, for the nice guy in the chat that said, I want to know how to document and hand off things. Well, this is also how you accomplish that. And that's right. And Brett, in your business, how important is having a defined set of expectations and process?
Yeah, you really can't, in my opinion, cannot run a business without that. It'll wear you down to the point that you won't be able to actually run a business. And I love what like Teresa says, framework equals structure. Love it. That's what I miss so much about the corporate world, the structure. And Teresa, you really hit something on the head there, because I came from corporate too. I had my own financial advisory business. I grew it up to about $100 million under management, and we were extremely structured. And then when I moved into the online information marketing business, there was zero structure. It was the opposite.
It's like Jello, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so what I love about what you said there is, if you can just bring some of that structure that you had in corporate to your business, and NA says, I'm not trying to get another job. Great, we aren't either. What I love about that is that if you can bring the structure to your own entrepreneurial business, and you can create these frameworks, you can then hand it off to your virtual assistant and have that life of freedom that you really want.
Yeah. And what I want to speak to is, again, I'm bringing back the roadmap here, because we're not saying now is the time, if you're struggling with lead flow, to go and do the frameworks for hiring and training and metrics and all that. We're saying, let's use a couple simple frameworks for your marketing so you can get a whole bunch of leads coming in and generate the revenue you need to scale. So that's the only frameworks we're going to actually talk about are what you need to do. Like, my goal is when you leave this webinar, you say, I know the exact clear steps I should be taking, and things have just become a lot more clear for me. And so let's dig into the marketing frameworks. Does that sound
all right,
good?
let's do it.
Okay. So the marketing model that we're going to cover requires 7 key ingredients. Now, I want to tell you that these are, when I say requires, the reason I use that is because every successful marketing funnel that I've looked at, and we're going to talk about each of them very briefly, has all these 7 things. In other words, if you have 6 of them, you probably won't be successful. But the good news is you don't need 36 things. If you nail these 7 things, you are going to be successful. As we said, most of us don't have a clear strategy right now. We have a drought of leads, meaning we have little or no predictability into where they're coming from. And with this system, it's kind of like selling an autopilot. That's what I love about it.
And I just want to jump in here for something. If you love Aaron Fletcher's slides, right? Love your slides, because I love your slides. And one thing that I learned from you recently, and you can tell us, just tell us, how do you come up with this? You said to me something that I loved. You have a no bullet point policy on your slides, which is totally counter to what pretty much everybody else does. Can you just touch on that for just 1 second?
Yeah. So it's actually a hack, and a lot of entrepreneurs say, hey, can I hire a designer? I'll pay 20 or 30 grand and all this stuff. And I go, look, I do this myself. And
I was one of those guys that asked you, I'm like, who's your designer? Can I hire them? You're like, actually, I do this myself, and it's easier than you think.
Yeah. If you have Keynote or PowerPoint, which covers most of the planet, you just resign yourself to never using a bullet point, because you want the image of your slide to convey the emotion that you want people to kind of absorb, and then you want to talk through the content. So the slides should be an interesting image that conveys the metaphor, what I'm trying you to feel. Like selling an autopilot, how cool would that be if you were sleeping and there was a robot selling for your business? That's what a funnel does, right?
Yeah, I love it.
So believe it or not, this takes me way less time than most of you and the audience would spend on a webinar or a training course. So yeah, it's a really good tip. It's how to hack the content side of it.
Yeah, everybody loved your slides, by the way. I think we got 25 people saying they love your slides.
Cool. Really, really appreciate it. If I told you it took 10 minutes, you'd love them less, but I'll just tell you that it was 50 grand. So what we're trying to do is use these 7 principles to sell an autopilot in a way that's fully automated. So you, at the end of the day, so you can generate clients on demand. So COD is what we're after, to go from a trickle that we mentioned to a flood. We have a model that accomplishes that. It has 3 key steps. I call it the Fletcher method because it's Fletcher and it's my method. It's not very creative, but and so what we're going to talk about today is how to have just a basic foundation in place, the most simple funnel that everybody in here can set up very quickly, and then one traffic source that works. I know for you, you've had great success with Facebook. That's my primary traffic source. So the cool thing for your audience is we're going to talk about Facebook because that's what we're using.
Mm-hmm.
So the foundation, we're going to use the rule of ones today, meaning everything I say, the biggest takeaway is you have to commit yourself to using the rule of ones, meaning you can't say I have 3 different customers or 3 different offers or 3 different funnels or 3 different lead magnets if you haven't mastered one. If you ask the average business owner who their target customer is, they start saying, oh, everybody from age 18 to 68 on planet Earth. And if you try to appeal to everyone, you appeal to no one. So the first one is one avatar. You have to have one customer that is the profile of your ideal client. Now we use a framework for that, and it's very simple. Who your avatar is and what they want to achieve. So if you just list something very basic like the demographics, the age, the gender, the location, who your one target customer is, like a name, like think about your best customer and call your avatar Jennifer. Like it shouldn't even be a generic category. It should be one person that you could put their picture on your wall and know them well. And then psychographics. What are they into? What Facebook pages do they follow? What magazines do they read? What are their opinions and behaviors? So that's kind of like on the left, you can see, who your avatar is. And then we get into the power of what do they want to achieve? What are they trying to accomplish in their life? And we look at their frustrations, what's keeping them up at night, what's bothering them, what problems do you solve, and then their goals and desires. So doing that, just going through this exercise, filling out these 2 sheets, takes your marketing quickly from anonymous, where you just are totally bland and unmemorable to intimate. And you need intimacy in your marketing. That's the first kind of big takeaway, is you have to have ads and messages that appeal to only that one person. You can't say, if you're a business owner, sign up for this. You have to say, this is the chiropractor's website cheat sheet, or this is the best social media ad strategy just for doctors, for cosmetic surgeons, right? So picking one target avatar is the first one.
And I just want to say something to that, because a lot of times I definitely am a big proponent of teaching avatars. And I go so far as to tell like people who come in our programs, our year-long programs, the first thing they have to do is they have to interview 10 paying customers. And I just want to point out that a lot of times there's an instant fear that we have that is, oh my gosh, I can't just create my marketing for one narrow audience, because what about all these other people that I can help?
They're leaving money on the table, right? It's a myth.
Exactly. And it is a myth. And what I tell people is that the very counterintuitive thing is that in order to go big, you must focus small. In order to go big, you must focus small. And so it's much, much better to try and create all of your marketings and products and solutions for one small customer or one small group of people that have the same problem that you are uniquely qualified to solve.
Yeah. And I love that advice. And I think that's why we found it from 2 different paths, the same level of success, because I had to do law firm marketing for 3 years. And when that didn't work, I would just do bankruptcy lawyer marketing. So a question, if you want to know if you're narrow enough, ask yourself if you can say that, if this is a true statement. I am the only X who provides Y. In other words, if you say I'm the only WordPress web designer for bankruptcy attorneys, you're going to be very successful.
Right.
So sometimes just attorneys isn't enough. Sometimes you have to even further narrow until you are known to be the only or best or unique provider for one specific client, right?
And that's and just to tell a story, going back to corporate, when I was a financial advisor, again, we wouldn't. There was no such thing as online marketing when I was starting in business in 1996 in the corporate financial world. I never even had a website. We would look for specific niches, and we were doing retirement plans, 401k plans, and corporate investing. And I found that I was able to focus on hospitals, and we became the #1 provider in San Diego for hospitals, for hospital 403B plans. And it sounds, so arcane and esoteric, but the market was enormous, and it was super lucrative. It took me a long time to figure that out. But so you can really shortcut it if you can narrow your niche. You'll get to the top much, much, much more quickly.
Yep. And we'll talk about that under lead magnets when we put these foundational pieces into play, right?
And Cam is asking, how do we get those sheets? Stay tuned, Cam. You're going to get these sheets. So if you hang in till the end, we're going to give you, Aaron's got a great freebie for you. So hang in there with us, okay?
Yep. I'll give you the sheets and the pillowcases. No, I was kidding. So the next thing is one promise. So once you know who your avatar is, you have to have a promise. Now, a lot of people talk about USPs, unique selling propositions, but we have a different spin on it. And let me show you what that is. If you nail the right promise, this is how you jump out immediately. And if you have relevancy, as you just said, Brett, it's way more effective to say, we help cosmetic surgeons double their web leads in one day without tech overwhelm, or we help 40-year-old busy moms lose 10 pounds in 5 weeks without giving up carbs. So what the USP formula we use has these components that you can see here on the left. And let me tell you why they're so important.
And so USP is?
It's a unique selling proposition. We call that the client transformation credo in our world, but most people know it as a USP. It's just, what is your one sentence mission that stands out and makes you unique in your market? So if you look at the sheet, I'll bring it up here, we did before, we found out what the customer's greatest frustrations are and their dreams, where they're trying to go toward, if you look, let me just clarify one thing. If you look at this framework on the right, think about time. So they have pains now, and if they don't deal with those pains, they're going to have big problems down the road. Like if their pain now is that they're single and they can't meet people, the big fear down the road is being lonely for the rest of their lives and not starting a family, right?
Right.
So it's like the current pains and goals, and then the long-term fears and dreams. Now, once we know what those are, we just simply do a little mashup. What's your client's biggest pain that you can solve right now, their biggest goal, what they're trying to achieve, and why, right? So now here's two things this must have. I have it written in red. You have to have a currency and a timeline in your marketing, meaning it's not good enough to say, I help clients generate more web leads, or I help people feel better about themselves. That has to say, I help people generate 3 times more leads in 30 days or less. A currency meaning, what is the measurable change that you help your clients provide, or you help them achieve, and in what timeline? Because if I said, our program helps you lose 5 pounds in 5 years, you would not be excited about it. You have to have a timeline. So,
okay, so let's do this. Let's do this a quick exercise right now. Everybody type in the message box, fill in the blanks here.
Yeah.
So you fill in this blanks. I help blank. Who do you help? And what do you help them do? I help blank achieve blank so they can blank without blank. So let me just try this. So I help enlightened entrepreneurs make 6 figures so they can live and work from anywhere without, what would I do without what?
Without being tied to an office or something.
Without being tied to an office.
What's the biggest frustration? And then if you can help them achieve 6 figures in a 1 year or 90 days, it's even better. If there's a timeline for what you do, then you're really cooking with gas.
Okay, so I help enlightened entrepreneurs make 6 figures in less than a year, so they can live and work from anywhere without being tied to a job.
Yeah. And let me tell you that with yours, now this is like, this exercise is the foundation, but then you can play jazz. Like, because you're saying work and live anywhere, it's implied without being tied to a desk, so you can drop that. But yeah, it's important to know what's in there, though. It's important to go through that, because you have to know that, am I including what they're trying to avoid or the stuff they hate? As Frank Kern would say, like, give them less of the stuff they hate.
Yeah.
So their biggest frustration is driving, commuting to an office and being tied to a desk and having a boss and no time off. Well, then you can say, I help them achieve a 6-figure income without setting foot into an office. That kind of implies that.
Here we go. So I create 6-figure income streams for enlightened entrepreneurs who want to live and work from anywhere.
Yeah. And
there. So, and just so everybody go and do this exercise and just paste it in the messages in the questions box. So some people are saying that it's a little blurry. so they can't see it, but just follow this formula. Who do you help? What do you help them do? And so they can do what? All right. And you can just read what I wrote. I create six-figure income streams for enlightened entrepreneurs who want to live and work from anywhere.
Yeah. And who they are is important. So I would say, like, if I was a fitness person, I might say I help busy executives lose up to 15 pounds of stubborn fat in 30 days without giving up carbs. I might say,
yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Maybe if I'm a marketing person for dentists, I might say I help pediatric dentists generate 20 to 30 new patients from the internet each month without spending a lot on advertising. So I'm thinking about, it's very simple. Once I interview those customers, I know their biggest frustrations and their biggest goals. I just say, well, let me help you measurably get way more of your goals with way less of your frustrations.
Cool. So Ian says, I help business people with cash flow problems best achieve fixing, losing their business in 90 days max. Okay. So yeah.
Say that again. Say that again.
I think I'm going to find a different example. So Michelle, I help baby boomer women feel better by turning their loved ones' clothes into artful quilts so they can remember and be comforted without taking clothes out of a closet drawer.
Yep. So so feeling comforted, how do I measure that? So does it help them get way more confident, way more energy, way more positive outlook? So the first part, you can be more specific. And that's what we always say is, like, what's the measurable? One thing we have people do that I think everybody will really appreciate is, if you're struggling with this, and this is a brand new concept, just take 2 columns on a sheet of paper and write all the things, all the currencies that you decrease and increase in your customers. So what are all the things that you think you increase in your customers' lives? Maybe their profit, their freedom, their time. Maybe you decrease their stress, their budget, their frustration. So just literally try to make as large a list as you can, and then go and ask your customers, which of these is the most important? And there you go.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, you guys are doing great. You're really on the right track with this. Chella, I help busy professional women set solid financial foundation in 90 days. Great. So see if you can get a little bit more specific. What kind of profession are these women in?
Yeah. And what's a solid foundation? How do you measure that?
Yeah. Does that mean an extra $10,000? Does that mean, what does that mean? So if you can get specific in those 2 areas, you're really going to nail it.
Absolutely. One last comment, and we got to kind of get through the rest. I want to make sure we get through the frameworks, but I look at marketing in a very ultra simple way, and it ties into our next piece, which is one system. It's a signature system, meaning, and this is the thing that most of you haven't seen or heard of before, and it might be the most important step to take, which is, before you start looking at lead magnets and Facebook ads and how to go get traffic and drive people through a funnel, a lot of the reasons why funnels don't work is because you're not showing people that you can take them, that you have a path to take them from their frustration to freedom or to their desired outcome. So once you know what you do for a living, the number one problem you solve, then we need to show them how you solve it using a signature system. So we have a framework where we just have you go, okay, well, what's the biggest frustration my client has? And then let's say this timeline was 90 days or a year, whatever your program is. Where do I drop them off at? And what are the main steps to get there? Now, I'm going to show you 3 examples so this could become clear, but think about it like this. If you're going to write a book, what would be the main chapters or sections of your book? Like if you're a personal trainer, it might be measure, diet, high intensity exercise, and reinforcement or flexibility. Like if you were a financial investor, it might be like, savings, diversity, asset allocation. So everybody here has a clear set of steps that you take your customers through. And if you act like you're going to do a speaking gig next week, what would be the 3 main sections of your talk? Think about it like that. Does that make sense so far, Brett?
Yeah, I think this was really transformational for me in knowing what those steps were and being able to articulate them clearly. Because when you do that, you really know how to meet your customers where they are at, which can dramatically improve your sales, dramatically. So I really love these steps and goals and frustrations and transformations. The more you know about how to communicate this kind of thing with your customer, the higher your sales are going to be.
Yeah. And let me give you a real life example. If you ask anybody on here, including and any entrepreneur you talk to, 99% of them will say, if you tell them to describe online marketing or what's the best process for getting more clients online, they would feel frustration and start naming things like social media and constant contact, email marketing, automation, Facebook. It's like we said, a huge hodgepodge. But if I can take the confusing world of online marketing and say, no, it's not that confusing. You need a foundation, which we're talking about right now. Know who your customer is, have a very specific system that nobody else has, a basic funnel, and you need floodgates or traffic. And everybody here should be able to break it. No matter how complex your subject matter, you should be able to articulate what you do in simple steps. Here's a gentleman named Chad who helps product managers. He has like an online training course for product managers, and I borrowed his framework. I thought it was pretty cool. He has this IDEA framework, which is these 4 steps that product managers can go through to get the results that they want. Another guy, I thought this was really cool, Ray, he helps kind of busy moms lose that stubborn fat. He has a unique program to do it. And so he can show them, hey, where are you on your sweatpants to swimsuit? It sounds funny, but do you feel confident in sweatpants or skinny jeans or a swimsuit? Where are you? And then here's how you get to the next step.
That's really great, because that allows you to go into a niche and serve a larger number of people in a particular niche. And so it allows you to figure out, because we talked about one customer avatar. This allows you to take that one customer avatar and meet them anywhere on their journey. And that allows you to serve more people when you can within your niche. So I really, really love that, because you can speak to where you're at, and that can dramatically increase your sales.
What exactly, that you're right on. What it does is it gives people confidence, because no one is showing your customers a clear ladder to climb to get where they want to go, or a clear path to follow. And when you're the person that has the curriculum or the framework or the ladder, they want to climb your ladder because you have the only one in town, right? No one else is showing up. So my value model, so to speak, is, hey, where are you in your business? Are you struggling, surviving? And then part 2 is, okay, well, we have a path to get there. Here's the steps. Just like all these folks, like there's a guy named Steven here, he helps people go from being kind of low paid hourly consultants to true advisors. And he has this profit method. Now, the acronyms are extra credit. You don't have to have a clever acronym like profit or IDEA, but the core is just take the time to write down, here's what we're going to do now. We're going to show you how this helps your marketing. So far, this has been kind of foundational stuff. It's homework. It doesn't sound sexy, but now when I show you how to turn this into a Facebook funnel, it's all going to click. Any questions before we move on to the funnel stuff, the fun stuff?
No, I just want to, just mention like how awesome your stuff looks, and that by itself is extremely attractive. So when you can, and these are some of your clients and people you've worked with, right?
Yeah, these are just people that we help do. Basically, they follow the same process we're covering today. They show up like this guy, Ray, would say, I help people lose weight. And we say, no, let's help mothers that are age 35. They're frustrated with their lack of time and stubborn fat that want to feel better. Now you have a specific path for them to follow, and it just makes them feel better.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. And when your customers see that, that looks just a lot easier than they might see from your competitors. And that's what's going to attract them to you. It's going to make you stand out.
Yep. So that whole piece is what takes your business from commonplace, where if you go to a cocktail party or a coffee shop and someone says, what do you do for a living? And you say, I am a financial advisor. I'm a bankruptcy attorney. I'm a personal trainer. And
yeah, I could say I'm a coach, and just
yeah,
leave it at that. You know, I'm a business coach, and that's what I say when I don't want to talk to somebody.
yeah. And when you want to talk to someone, you might say, I help enlightened entrepreneurs make 6 figures from anywhere in less than 1 year.
Yeah.
And then they go, what? How do you do that? And it's
Do that.
right? Yeah. If you don't want to talk to them, I just go, Passez par la voix, chez François, and act like I don't speak English. But that's
that was pretty good.
How do you go from commonplace to unique? Is we already covered that. Now, the last foundational piece, and it's one of the most important, is you have to have one offer ladder or one low quality, not low quality, low price,
low price.
Yeah, super low quality
High
offer.
quality, low price.
Yeah, anything from the dollar store would work. No, I'm just kidding. And so what we do is we just help you map out. It's important. Everybody here can just do this. Draw some steps, a very simple ladder, and say, how am I going to maximize my profit? If I'm advertising on Facebook and selling something, let's say for $29 or $39, how am I going to really make sure on the back end I'm making as much profit as I can while not strapping myself down? In other words, if you're doing one-on-one services, if you're doing an agency model, or if you're a coach, on one hand, you're going to celebrate if you got 50 clients this month. You'd be, oh, this is great. Then soon after that, you would go into a deep depression saying, great, now I'm going to have 50 calls a week.
Right.
So if you think of the outcome first, as Stephen Covey would say, and say, wait a minute, how can I offer more and more higher price, higher quality programs, but leverage myself with things like group coaching and information products? And, this is really important before you go and launch a funnel to say, what's it going to look like in the back end? So it's just important to say, what are you going to give people for free? And what is the lowest kind of price product we can get people to create a customer and then sell them higher value through the back end? I'm sure you do. Everyone does some version of this, which is just an important step before you go and build a funnel.
I think it's important that, a lot of times, again, there's so much information out there that can be really confusing. Sometimes people might have heard of something called a tripwire product, which is, a really low price offer, or they might have heard like a lead magnet or a sales offer, so there's all these different kind of words. What I love about this is literally take out a pen and paper right now, draw a staircase and start at the bottom with what your product ladder is going to be. And it starts out with what's that free thing and that ultimate lead magnet. And I also, learned something from you about how to have a really high converting lead magnet. But what's that free thing that you're going to get in exchange for the email address? And then how are you going to add value by sending people emails? And then are you going to offer a strategy session? And then what's that low price product, that entry price product, and then a little bit higher and more value, and a little bit higher and more value. This is really, really important.
And you don't have to have it all set up, but don't be overwhelmed. Like if you have the first product, you're going to launch that, and you can build as you go, because if you're new, you might not even know what these things are, and you don't need to.
Yeah.
Now let's get into the groovy stuff. So now that we have a foundation, if I go back to the main image here, we know kind of who our target customer is. We have a signature system, so a unique process to show them to get them from point A to point B, and an offer ladder. Now we can build the funnel. This is what a lot of people love to talk about, but you have to have that foundation in place. And this is why most funnels don't work, because they go and start placing ads that don't really resonate. So the first step.
And I do need to mention, since we run a Facebook advertising agency, people come to me all the time and say, hey, can I hire you for Facebook ads? And my first question is, tell me about how well your funnel converts. And sometimes I'm met with blank stares. And I say, look, I can have the best ad in the world, and I can run so much traffic to you, but if you can't convert it, it doesn't matter. So focus on what you're talking about right now first.
Yeah, we see that so much. We're totally on the same page. And then if their funnel doesn't convert, guess what we do? Show me your foundation, and do you really know who your customer is, and do you have an offer that makes sense? Then show me the funnel that works. And now let's talk about what that funnel looks like. So one lead magnet, following the rules of one. Brett, you've seen this before, and I think this helps people really clearly immediately understand why their Facebook ads typically don't work. Because
this is the favorite thing, my favorite slide ever. This is actually the reason why I called you to be on this interview. When I saw this, I was like, oh my God, I gotta interview this guy.
Yeah. And this is an example of, in a weird way, it's kind of meta, because this ultimate lead magnet training you saw was kind of a lead magnet that got me to do an interview with you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
this stuff really works because it explains something. It's easy to consume. And so let's look at what the criteria are. At the end of the day, people want things that are of high desire. They have to really care about them, or else they're not going to take action, but they also have to be easy to consume. Now, here's where marketing is counterintuitive to a lot of us. We think that the higher quality content that we create is going to do better. In other words, if I take 6 weeks and make a course, or even if I offer somebody on the lower left here, you see a free consultation. The highest value I could offer you is an hour of my time for free. But if I advertise that on Facebook, nobody would want it, because it's not easy to consume or highly desirable. They don't know me well enough.
And just think about that for a second. You know, you might say, well, wait a minute, you know, a one-on-one session is easy to consume, or a video is easy to consume. However, if it's an hour long, actually people will view it as very hard to consume, and they won't be attracted to your offer, your lead magnet.
Yeah. Now here's the hack here. So for now, what I want you to think about is here's the big takeaway that I'm going to show you in a minute. Where your lead magnet comes from is, if you look at your signature system, if you map out your system from taking clients from A to B, you pull out one step and solve that problem completely. A lot of folks make the mistake of having their lead magnet try to do everything. Like, here's the 12 steps to living an enriched life, or buying a home, or being, you know, top peak performance athlete. What you need to do is focus on, if I look at my signature system, you see in the middle, Authority Engine, which is a website. I said, let me tell people what they need to do to get a higher converting website. And then I can show them, because that's highly desirable, a cheat sheet, a checklist, a template, something that they can consume right away, and that can open up the door, create a conversation, so then I can instruct them further. Does that make sense?
Yeah, if I can just mention, for sure, my highest converting lead magnets are pretty much always the templates, and so I do lots of templates. Like I'll make a Excel spreadsheet calendar template that you can download, or I'll make a Facebook ads, a viral Facebook ads template, and you could just download it. And those things convert like crazy. Yeah. And then, you know, and then I've also taken time where I've written long ebooks, and they don't convert nearly as well. And it doesn't mean that an ebook cannot work for you. It just means that it's not usually that quick. If you're looking for like the quick, fast email list growth, those cheat sheets and templates are on that upper right-hand quadrant, high desire, easy to consume. And I love what you said. They solve one problem. Don't try to solve more than one. Don't try to solve 10. Solve one specific problem. And that works really well.
Yep. And let me tell you the hack. If I have found one hack in online marketing, it's such a, you know, pretty much everyone does all this stuff in some version of another. But if I found one little piece that I could say, wow, that really changed everything for me, and I haven't seen a lot of people do that, is how you treat the funnel. Now I'm going to talk about that next. Is the problem with things like cheat sheets and templates is they're high converting, as you see in the upper right. They have a high conversion rate, but they're not engaging, because you can download a cheat sheet and put it in your Dropbox folder, and you never got to know somebody or build a relationship. So there's a way to handle that. Let me tell you what that is. We use an acronym called the opt-in framework when we're creating lead magnets, because it helps you remember that, hey, it has to do all these 5 things. It has to solve one problem, one step in your signature system. It has to, the P has to position you as an expert. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment. It has to be time friendly. So again, it's easy to consume. It has to be incomplete. This is really important. You have to say, look, I just solved this problem for you, but this is only one part of a 5-step process to make 6 figures in less than 1 year. And then on this webinar, I'm going to show you those exact steps. Or when you get on the phone with me, I'm going to show you those exact steps. So you have to stretch the gap. You have to solve one problem, but then show them that is not going to get them the results they're looking for. It's going to help them, but it's not going to provide a full solution. And then have a next step. What are they going to do next? So let me show you.
What was the first word again?
Problem.
One problem.
Yeah, position you as an expert, time friendly, incomplete, and next step, clear next step. So that totally takes you from repulsive, where you're trying to offer a white paper on Facebook, to irresistible, where it's like they go, wow, I need that, and now let me get to know you. So let me walk you through a real funnel, how these steps would look, and then I'll show you, for the last couple minutes, we'll zoom out and I'll show you how to kind of put this together in an easy way, how to look at it all together. Because right now we're still kind of going through the steps. Then I'm going to zoom out and show you the context of it. So I experimented with this strategy first last year. You can see generating about 10,000 leads for about $1.20 each.
And that rocks.
And
fantastic.
And some of the campaigns would be 60 cents, 50 cents, but you get lazy. So what happens is you start getting leads for 60 cents. You don't look at your Facebook account for 2 days, and then you realize you're getting leads for like $4. So I don't recommend that. But here you see, I spent about $12,000 and got about 10,200 leads. Not bad, right?
And by the way, you don't have to spend $12,000. He's getting emails for $1.20 per email. So that's
spend $10 and you get 10 good leads, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and by the way, I started doing that. I spent $10 a day, and then because I knew I was getting an ROI, then Facebook is better than any, and this, Brad, as a financial advisor, it's probably one of the safest investments you could make, because you can spend $10 and know if it worked or not, and then spend another $10 and you can keep spending with very little risk because you're seeing what's happening on the back end.
Yeah.
So let's see what it really looks like. So here, if you look at my framework, you'll see in the middle of the Fletcher method, there's an authority engine, which is what I call a website. It's our framework for a website. So you can see people are on Facebook.
And by the way, that was the ad that I saw that got me to you. And that was, I wrote it in my email to you guys who joined us here. I said, oh, I saw these very commanding ads that clicked on them. And I always click on the good ones to see what other people are doing that's working. That was the ad that I clicked on.
Yeah. And this is one case where you'll notice I departed from my branding, and it's purposely ugly because it opens up a psychological loop. There's stuff blurred out. You can't tell what the steps are. And it opens up a loop in your mind where you're like, yeah, now I need to know what these things I need on my website are, or else I won't be able to go to sleep tonight. So maybe not that extreme, but it opens up a loop. They click. Then when they click, they go to an opt-in page that has continuity, the same image they saw on Facebook, a clear kind of headline. This is nothing new, basically pages opt-in. Then the most important part. So if you leave today with 2 takeaways, one of them is like, document your own signature system that provides your client's journey, that shows your client's journey. The second big takeaway is, after people opt in for your free cheat sheet, you do something that sounds really weird, but very effective. You walk them through the cheat sheet. So you don't have a thank you page and, hey, download it in a minute, or here's your free PDF. You actually walk them through it and say, you do 3 things. You establish authority, say, hey, this is Aaron Fletcher. I help business owners double their sales in 90 days without tech overwhelm. And notice those elements are in there. I can say business owners now because I'm appealing to a broad market, because after years of specializing, now I can do that, right? The second thing I do is I say, let me take a few minutes and walk you through this website cheat sheet so you can understand how to put it to use and really get the most out of it. So then I actually walk them through it. And then guess what I do third? The third and most important thing I do is I stretch the gap. I say, your website is only one part of a 3-part system that you need if you want to truly get on the path to X, Y, and Z. And I suggest you either get on the phone with me, maybe if I'm offering a strategy session, or get in this webinar, and I'm going to walk you through those exact steps. So awesome. You get a lead for like 50 cents or $1. Then you get to build a relationship with them and increase your engagement and move them through your funnel. So that's, in a nutshell, the core funnel that we use.
Totally awesome. It's really great when think about that for a second. If you have this awesome cheat sheet, people opt in, then you tell them how to use the cheat sheet on the thank you page. So, what are they going to do? They're going to go to their email and find your cheat sheet. And that's a great way to also have a double opt-in confirmation, which means that you're going to get good email addresses, and people are going to check their email. And when you send them another email, they're going to get it in their inbox. And that's awesome. And then book your strategy session with you. And
if that's your call to action, or here's an example of a strategy session, here's an example of go to a webinar, whatever's next in your funnel, it's a perfect little bridge in between.
Well, I just want to mention the strategies for a second, because I've used strategy sessions extensively, and usually a couple times a year, I'll launch a program. I'll launch, one of our 12-month programs, and I'll do strategy sessions, and I'll go do 110 strategy sessions. And in the matter of, maybe 60 to 90 days, we'll do about $240,000 in sales from one-on-one strategy sessions. Now, sometimes I say that to people and it scares them. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. But would you do it for $200,000? Maybe you would.
Yep. Yeah, it's a great model because they're ready too, Brett, that by the time they get to that little triage call to see if they qualify for a paid strategy session or sell them something, like they have context, like they're coming to you already understanding what they need and what they're not doing and how to get results. Let me, just because we're getting over time, let me show you 2 quick images I think are important. We have time for that?
Yeah, go for it, and then give everybody the link for your free gift.
No problem. Okay. So the way this all comes together, I call, because I'm a nerd, the swim lanes sales funnel. So if I was to take your whole marketing plan and put it into one page, people find this incredibly powerful, because if you're trying to do things like email marketing, retargeting, setting up, opt-in pages, and deciding where your sales process fits, that can be confusing. So what we do, we put it all into one page, and all you have to do, your only job in a marketing funnel, is to say, what steps are people going to go through? What pages are you going to take them through? And how are you going to use some or all of these 5 quote unquote swim lanes to push them to the next step? So if someone opts in for your lead magnet, but not your webinar, what ad strategy and email strategy are you going to use to do that? If someone comes to your webinar, but not your strategy session, on down the road. So I'm going to give you guys this framework, and I'll show you how you can get this when you sign up for the free workshop. And then lastly, there's a takeaway you'll really like. Everything we covered today, you can fit in this kind of one-page map that I like you to put up in front of your desk. So you can say, here's those 7 key things. Who is my avatar? What's my promise? My signature system, my offer, what's going to be my lead magnet? What are the steps in my sales funnel? And then how am I going to use that one traffic source? For us, that's clearly Facebook. It's what we've talked about a lot. But if you already have an established business, it could be events or Google. So that's really the plan. If you want to go to the free gift I'm offering, and we'll send this link out afterwards, but if you go to FletcherMethod.com/workshop, there's a 4-part video series. It's free. It'll walk you through all this in detail and get you really clear on how to implement this stuff. Or you can go to FletcherMethod.com/webinar. And I think towards the end of February, we're going to do another deep dive kind of free coaching session. So it's up to you. And if you do the workshop or the webinar, you get a copy of these frameworks as well.
Yeah, so if you want a copy of what you saw today, and I just posted it there in the chat, go to FletcherMethod.com/workshop, FletcherMethod.com/workshop. And then you can get a copy of the framework. So Aaron, thank you so much, man. That was awesome information. I sincerely appreciate it, and I hope to have you come back sometime soon.
Oh, cheers. It's my pleasure. So nice to meet you and your audience. I really appreciate it, Brad. Take care.
Yeah, go to www.fletchermethod.com and you can download the frameworks. Also, as always, if you want to get the replay, go ahead and join the Facebook event. So we posted the Facebook event in the chat. Just make sure to click join and you get a copy of today's replay. So that's also in the chat box. Until next Tuesday, much love, everybody. We'll see you soon. I'm Brett Gregory signing off.